Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining our second webinar in our webinar series. Today, we're talking about something that almost every DMC owner secretly struggles with. It's called growth, because growth sounds great in theory, but in reality, growth often means more chaos. My name is Anna Milas. I'm the marketing person at TripMatrix. And in the next 20 minutes, I want to challenge one assumption. What if your problem isn't growth, but how you grow? So, what entrepreneurs are mostly afraid of is the inability to grow their DMCs, right? So, most entrepreneurs say, oh, we need more clients. Truth be told, most DMCs do not have a growth problem. They have what's called a scaling illusion. So, they think they're scaling because they're busier, but busy is not the same as scalable. So when we talk about growth, we usually think that growth means more inquiries, more itineraries, more employees, more clients, and more revenue, of course. But here's the real question. Is profit increasing or are you just getting busier? So that difference changes everything. In reality, two things are happening. More clients mean more manual work. More custom requests mean more offers. More offers overall only imply that there is more work. And if something does not increase profit long term, it's not growth, it's called pressure. So before we talk about scaling, we need to admit why scaling doesn't happen. So we got to see the problem, but we got to be transparent about it. So there are four main reasons, four core reasons why DMCs don't scale. And none of them are about a lack of clients. So this one might be a little painful. So custom everything only sounds premium, but operationally, custom everything means zero leverage. So every itinerary is unique, no repetition, no standardization, and scale doesn't really like bespoke. Scale likes structure. I once worked at a shipyard long time ago. They built submarines in the 1960s, but decades later, they couldn't build the same ones again. So why did that happen? Because the engineers who designed them were gone. So the knowledge actually lived in people's heads. And here's the brutal truth. If your operations live in somebody's head, you do not have a system. You have a dependency. And dependency doesn't scale. So there's another problem. It's called tool fragmentation. Because we all have a lot of tools nowadays. There's so many tools. There is the itinerary tool, there's the vendor tool, payment software, communication tool, another Excel file, another WhatsApp group. At some point, tools stop helping. They start creating noise. So what happens next? More work requires more employees. More employees require more coordination. So margins shrink and suddenly growth starts eating itself. So what's a shift? First of all, when we talk about shift, we got to know that it's the mindset change to start with. Scalable DMCs do not eliminate custom work. They modularize it. They use reusable content, structured offers, defined processes, and operations that rely on systems, not on hero employees. And technology should never be just another tool. It should be one operational backbone. Scale does not kill creativity. It's wrong thinking. Chaos kills creativity. So let me ask you something, okay? What if your itineraries, pricing, payments, and operations lived in one place? What if growth didn't automatically mean hiring? Because most DMCs think scaling equals headcount. But what if it equals structure? We're not saying that technology alone solves the problem. Most DMCs already have too many tools. TripMatrix is not about adding another one. It's about replacing fragmentation with structure. As I already said, one backbone. And where itineraries, pricing, payments, and workflows actually talk to each other. So the goal isn't to make you less custom, it's to make custom work repeatable, scalable, and at the end, of course, profitable. So one of the hardest things in business, in life, but let's say in business especially, is implementing change. People do not like to change their ways. They just don't, because they're used to their ways, and this is how it was always done. And they especially do not like change that involves digitalization or operational change. Why? Well, let's face it, it forces structure. And structure, well, structure exposes inefficiencies. But here's the truth. Growth without change, it just creates chaos. Nothing happens well without it. And then growth with structure, well, that one creates profit. And we are here as TripMatrix to help you along the way. So the onboarding process looks somewhat like this. First, we demonstrate TripMatrix, and then we create an account for you. This means that you have an access to the platform, and inside you have an example trip. And that can help guide you in creating your own trip and your own inventory. If needed, you schedule a call, and one of our product managers will lead you through all your questions. Now, I would love to play a short video that walks you through the onboarding process. We'll guide you step by step so you can see exactly how everything works. Okay? All right.
When you're first starting with TripMatrix, there are a few key things that you should set up first. So most of the technical setup happens in settings, and this is where agencies usually start. So when you log in for the first time, a pop-up with localization settings will appear, and you can access these settings under your profile. So this is where you choose the language of application, date and time format, and others. So in settings, you start first by adding agency details and uploading your logo. Next, you add your team members. So you can add unlimited number of users, and each user can be assigned a role which defines their permissions in the system. So this means you can create roles with different permissions, and you can control who can access or edit different parts of TripMatrix. In linked accounts, you can connect Google for emails, Stripe for online payments, and QuickBooks for generating invoices. You can also create your payment and cancellation policies and set the default margin. So every time you create a new trip or product, these default settings will apply. If you offer bank transfers as a payment option to your clients, you can add different payment instructions for different currencies, and they will appear in their offer. In the currencies section, you can manage the exchange rates for different currencies, and TripMatrix is connected to API service, which provides exchange rates data, which is updated hourly, but you can also set your own if needed. You can also create different PDF templates. You can decide what information you want to show, and you can use different templates for different trips. Before you start creating your inventory, you should create your suppliers. So every product in a trip or template needs to have a supplier. If they don't, the system will assign a default one, which is your agency. So when you get a TripMatrix account, it won't be empty. There will be an example trip, trip template, and products that are in this trip, and they are there to help guide you when you're creating your own products and your own trips. So for that purpose, your agency supplier profile was created. When you open it, it will be empty and you can add the information yourself. But if you leave it empty, it's also okay because system will pull the agency information from settings. So when you're creating your suppliers, you need to add the information, contacts, but you can also add hotel allotment contracts. So if you're working with bed banks such as hotel beds or web beds, you can also connect them through our TravelGate X connector. So if you have an account, you can access live inventory with real-time pricing and availability when you're building your trips. So they will appear here under external. When you start creating your inventory database, we suggest you start with the products and destinations you use most often. So with TripMatrix, you can create different types of products. The process is simple and quick, but with few of our integrations, the process is made even faster. So when you are creating accommodation, you can pull full hotel content with our Jata Drive integration. You get descriptions, facilities, location and photos, check-in, check-out time, and even room types. When you're creating experiences, destinations, or other types of products, you can use Google Maps to find exact locations, to find exact routes, and you can also pull Google location-based images if you don't want to upload your own. So all the content is not required. You can decide how detailed you want your products to be, but you have to add the supplier and the pricing to be able to add them to your trips. So before you start creating your trips, you need to add your customers in the contacts module. So this is our simple CRM, where all the customer information is one place, as well as their trip offers. So contacts, suppliers, and the products, they don't have to be created in advance. They can be created directly while you're building your trip, and they will be saved in their respective modules for future use. To create these elements beforehand is just a recommended step for the optimal workflow. Because when you have your database ready and you are building your trip, all you have to do is just select these ready-made products instead of creating them from scratch. We also recommend you create trip templates before trips, whether or not you're going to be using the TripMatrix powered website. So when you create trips, you can use these templates and all the content will be copied into trip offers. And all you have to do is some additional adjustments if needed. So trip templates are built here. You add destinations, products, you define the pricing, add day-by-day itinerary, and when it's ready, you can easily publish it on the website. If you are using the website, you build it and customize it here in the CMS module. So this is very user-friendly. You add the agency information and logos, your FAQs, and in the home layout, you define different sections and decide what you want to present and where. So all of these destinations and the trip templates that you selected here will appear on the website automatically. So your customers can browse and they can submit inquiries directly from here, which will be saved in the system automatically, so you never miss a potential client. Once you have your database and trip templates ready, trip creation becomes quick and efficient. So trip requests can be created manually or automatically, and this example here was created automatically when a customer submitted inquiry through TripMatrix website. Here you can see which template the inquiry is based on, and you can just use it to create the trip offer. So everything from trip template will be copied into the offer except accommodation, because you need to define room and packs arrangements. Then you have to do some additional adjustments, of course, based on your client needs. So you can add more destinations or other products and more days, for example. You can also create a custom trip from scratch. You can copy any trip that is in the system, but you can also import full template or template destinations into the trip offer. So when you import template destination, all of the days and items connected to this destination will be copied into the trip. So all of these TripMatrix features are designed with one goal in mind, and that is to help you create trips faster, reuse content efficiently, and minimize manual work. So we always listen to our clients' feedback, and we continuously work on improving the user experience to make it better and smoother.
Okay. So how did you like the presentation? I'm just asking. You can write some answers in the chat box, just so I know you're here. You're listening to the presentation. Just kidding. As you've seen, the onboarding process is very straightforward. So successful implementation, however, requires proper operational preparation. So technology only delivers results when operations are aligned and ready. Okay? So let me leave you with 3 thoughts. First one, scale is not about working more. Scale is about repeatability and systems. And technology only works when operations are ready for it. Now, one final question. If your inquiries double tomorrow, would your business scale or would it struggle under its own growth? This is just food for thought. Question that's food for thought. And because growth should feel controlled, not chaotic. And that's exactly why we're building what comes next. Instead of manually rebuilding itineraries, you will be able to upload any existing PDF offer and instantly convert it into a fully structured trip inside TripMatrix, saving hours of operational work and reducing human error. So more about this in one of our next webinars.